Today's episode's going to be a little different. My guest today is actually one of my first coaching clients, and we worked together with him a while back and helped him discover the reality of him being a talented singer-songwriter that even is signed to an indie record label out in Nashville. And today, David has agreed to do a live coaching session for you listening at home. And the beauty of this is you will get to be a fly on the wall to see firsthand what it's like to work with me one-on-one. Even more exciting is we don't know where this is going. Like, we just hopped on this call like 2 minutes ago, and I just really wanted to see where we could go and just show up powerfully, play full out, and see what happens. And without all that said, David, what will make today's conversation extraordinary?
Oh man, just to kind of get some more guidance on where I'm at and where I can go to continue the process of making music and sharing my music with people. That's what I do this for.
I love that. I love that. For those listening at home, kind of let them know kind of the background from being me and you and how we've worked before.
Absolutely. So me and Coach Red, we've worked together a few times earlier this year. And whenever I came to him, then I was struggling to really see myself as an artist, even though I'd already had an indie deal signed, and Coach Red helped me see that I'm an artist. That's who I am. That's what I do, and helped me really kind of bridge the gap in my own mind between where I was lacking in seeing myself and accepting that identity and starting to roll with it. And since then, I've made a really good relationship with a local venue. I've been playing there once a month, and we'll be playing there once a month at least through next year. So it's been really, really great what's taken place in my life and my music career since working with Coach Red for the first time.
Man, I love that. I love that. I'm so glad to hear that you've got these connections and you're really going after what you really want to go after. So, with that, where are you right now?
Man, right now I am in the process of getting ready to record an album. My first EP. I'm getting my songs finalized for that, and trying to just make relationships with more venues, reach more fans, so that whenever it gets time to launch, we can have a successful launch for the album, and hopefully impact some lives for the better with the music that I put out.
What would you say is the big goal for you right now?
Right now, it's to get my mind back out of the editing phase of my music, since I'm at a point where I think my songs are done for the album, and start writing new again. I didn't realize the shift in brain power that you have to take to go from editing to go back to writing, and that's kind of my big struggle right now is getting that fresh creative juices flowing again, as opposed to just really looking at what I've done with a critical eye.
Man, that's so good. And I've talked about it plenty of times. I think I've made a couple of TikToks and videos about that. It's so tough to be in the creative process writing something new while self-editing. I know myself, when I'm writing, I have a tendency to almost like edit out things before they even get a chance to have a light of day. And man, that's so tough. But yeah, one exercise I like to do is it's almost like word vomit, and it's almost just like stream of consciousness. And when I get an idea to sit down and write kind of like the loose concept of a song, instead of getting really focused on the lyrics to line up perfectly with the melody, I like to just write, just get all of the stream of flow of that concept out. And from there, I can go back and read it. And I'm like, okay, these few things sound amazing. Let's run with those. And that's kind of one quick tip, even for you, even for those listening for home, that has helped me. But tell me a little bit more of like what's been your creative process lately as you've started to get into writing new songs.
Sure, absolutely. So for my first kind of EP, it was just really trying to get my sound kind of figured out and get it down with a few songs that really kind of exemplify that. But at this point where I'm kind of wanting to go with my writing is, what's the message that I want to get out? What's the unique story that I can see in the world and tell to my listeners that hasn't been done before? And so kind of what I've been doing right now is just really kind of thinking about my life, my experiences, what makes it different, what makes it unique, what gives it a viewpoint on life that maybe others haven't thought of yet. I want to really push my listeners to expand the way that they think about certain things. I like to bring a lot of the dichotomy of living in the South, but not being someone who participates in a lot of the activities in the South. I don't hunt. I do fish, but I don't drive a truck. I'm not your typical country music singer, even though I sing country music. So my songs, the message of the songs, it isn't mainstream at all. It's very much dealing with this dichotomy of what it's like being a man in the South who isn't your stereotypical man in the South, for lack of a better way to say it.
Man, I already love this. Being another man from the South. I mean, I don't fish, I don't hunt. I mean, I grew up playing sports, but I played so much sports growing up, I got burnt out from it. So it's like, I'm not even super interested in the sports. Like, yeah, I'll cheer for a sports team, but I'm not like life and death on a game if someone loses. So I definitely, man, I can relate to that. So already I can tell that, like, man, that's so cool. I think that's such a unique approach that you're going to bring to country music, and I think that's really, I think you're really onto something, and definitely continue to lean into that because that's super interesting thought process. Man, that's so cool. But I wanna ask you a few questions just to kind of
Yeah.
like further examine that. So recently I've been thinking about how can we live an exponential life? And to me it's came through this idea of making life an acronym. And so life each stands for different things. And with that, the first would be L, and that L would stand for legacy. So I would like to ask you, what is the legacy you want to leave in the world?
Oh man, I just want to be somebody that through my music, through my other endeavors, just help someone who feels like they're not understood feel understood. If I can do that and help someone who's battling with their identity, or maybe just it is what I'm feeling normal, is what I'm feeling right. Can I live here and build here whenever I don't feel like I fit in here? If I can help somebody kind of see that they can and help them move past that, either through my writing or whatever, man, that would be great. Uh, or if I can just get somebody who loves my music so much that they pick up a guitar and they start wanting to learn how to play guitar, get them interested in making this crazy thing that we call music. I think that would be a legacy that I would love to have.
Man, I love that. With that, so this podcast is for mostly creative people, those that either are creative, want to be creative, and something like that. So, what would you say? And it's big on identity. I mean, I'm huge, even with my whole coaching practice, is helping people discover their creative identity. So, with that said, and with your passion to help people and leave that legacy, what would you say to someone out there that might be struggling to feel like they don't fit in? But wants to get started.
Man, absolutely. So just kind of taken from my own experiences. Um, Whenever I first picked up a guitar, I was later on in life. I was either 19 or 20. I was an undergrad. And whenever I picked it up, I kind of started running with it until I got to a point where it became hard to progress. And so I put it down. And whenever I put it down, it was almost like a part of me left. And I put it down for a few years. And so whenever I picked it back up, it was like that re-spark. So I think for people who are struggling with their identity as an artist, the thing to kind of really lean into is whenever you pick up an instrument or start singing or pick up a pen to write, if that's something that you enjoy, lean into it. Don't worry about whether or not it's going to be good, whether someone's going to like it or not, because my first few songs, they're crap. I will never play them for anyone. But as I continued to go and progress, I started to develop my own sound with how I played the guitar, my own sound with how I sang, my own um, kind of style of writing whenever I would pull out lyrics and write those. And it's amazing how whenever you just let yourself lean into that part of who you are, that the more you stay there, the more confident you become. And so the only way to really, in my mind, get over any identity crisis of yourself as an artist is just let yourself be an artist. Art isn't like math; it's not like science. There's no right and wrong answers. Um, this is all just, can you make someone feel something? Whatever emotion it is, can you make them happy? Can you make them want to have fun? Can you make them feel sad? Can you make them relate? Can you get them to think of something else in a unique way? If you can do any of those things, then man, your art matters. It means something and it needs to be shared, even if it's just with one person. And so I think that is also something that I've kind of taken with me, is that some songs are just for me. Some songs are for an audience of one, and those are for me. And other songs are for me to share with other people. Um, and it's okay to write songs just for you. It's okay to write songs that you want to share with everybody. That's a part of being an artist and really growing in that comfort level of your identity.
There's so many, man, so many gems you just dropped there. For you listening and watching, you need to run it back, listen again, take notes. Man, that was so good. I'm gonna let that breathe for a little bit.
Yeah.
And one thing I could kind of piggyback off of that is you really said it. Like, lean into the fact that you are an artist, and that's what I hope that I helped you discover when we got on
Absolutely,
calls.
man.
Was it's really as simple as like you're already creative, so just start creating. Like a lot
Yeah.
of times when we get into that imposter syndrome, we get into those perfectionism of it having to be perfect, then we get into that trap of not even starting. And it's once you start, like you said, you might not have shown your work early, but you started. And I would take it a step further. There's a book, I think I even mentioned it to you back in the day, called Real Artists Don't Starve. And one of his perfect lines that he had in the book is he talks about practicing in public, and no better platforms do we have now with this technology than to practice in public. So another practical tip out there for you listening is hop on a TikTok live, a Facebook live, an Instagram live, and do your art, whether it's
Yeah.
music or painting or speaking. Like, get in front of an audience, because when you get in front of an audience, then it draws out even more creativity. Man, I love that. Continuing to this exponential life thought. So L is legacy, and then
Mhm.
I would be impact. So how can you have a bigger impact on this planet?
Well, in my mind, the only way that you can have a bigger impact is to reach more people. Um, to me, that's what impact kind of speaks to, at least in my mind. And so, kind of piggybacking off of what you just said, where get on TikTok lives, get on Facebook lives. For myself, I didn't get confident in my music until a few of my friends were like, "We've recorded these songs of you. If you don't make a YouTube and put them on, we're going to do them for you." So I was kind of back against the wall. I had to share my music, and that that really is what was the catalyst for me to start realizing, hey, this is what I want to do. And so whenever you share your music and you start reaching others and they start connecting with what you're saying, and they care about you, and you start building those fans, that's where your impact is. And whenever you get those people who love what you do and will support you, that just makes you want to do more to impact their lives with your music so that they get
Yeah.
something out of the relationship that they're giving you too. So to me, impact is building those relationships with your fans and giving them quality work that they can hold on to and be like, look, we were with this guy from the beginning. We know whenever he first put out this song, it gives them something to be a part of the journey.
All right, so we got legacy, impact, and the F of life is freedom. So, what does creative freedom look like for you?
So there's, to me, there's kind of two aspects to that. There's the freedom to be able to write whatever and however you want, and giving yourself the freedom to do that. I am typically I consider myself a country music singer songwriter. The past few weeks, I found myself pulling out my old 90s grunge music and listening to it. And
Yeah.
I've just been playing that on guitar because that's kind of where I'm at. And I've been making, even though lyrics haven't been coming, I've been just making some cool kind of progressive country chord progressions off of that. That's a little bit more rock slash country that I'm going to use in the future for some songs. So I think, not boxing yourself into any one genre and feel like, okay, if I'm playing country, I've got to sound like what's on the radio. If I'm playing um, worship music, I've got to sound like what's um, the big acts in that realm today. Be you and draw from all of those people who have impacted you in your own musical journey, and let that kind of lead your style. And your style can morph over time. You don't have to sound the same on every song you put out, every album. I mean, to me, you shouldn't. So that's the kind of the aspect of artist freedom and giving yourself that freedom. But the other side of it is, in order to do this and do this at a level that I think a lot of us want to do who are creatives, you got to find the way to have financial freedom to do that. And so I think you've got to um, figure out a way to monetize your music. And you can do that through, making it on TikTok, just posting until you go viral. But the way that I found has been the most lucrative is building my fan base, is get out there and gig. So many acts I think today are scared of gigging for whatever reason.
Come
But
on.
gigging's fun, man. I never had more fun in my life until I gigged for the first time. And that was like better than any drug I can imagine. That was a natural high that I've never gotten before. Um, I'll never forget whenever I was playing and I was doing a cover of "He Stopped Loving Her Today," and I couldn't hear myself through the speakers. Everyone else was singing
Man,
it so much, and
come
even
on.
though I didn't write that song, man, that was just a moment that I'll never forget, and that made me realize that this is what I'm going to do with my life, and I'm going to figure out a way to where I'm not stuck at a job that I can't do that.
Come on. That's awesome. Yeah, and I
And
love how you even brought up that the fact that it takes the financial freedom to get there. And I think I mentioned this to you before, but I definitely want to bring the point home for those listening. It's so when you're especially in the beginning of your career, obviously the money from doing what you want to do is not going to be there right away, and it's this theory they call the sex versus cash theory, and I think I sent you a voice memo even about it. But it's this idea that sometimes in life we need to make the cash because we've got to pay the tuition for the kids, or whatever it may be. We got to keep the light bills on. So that sometimes you will have to lean into doing cash things, which aren't always the best, most fun thing. It's not the sexy thing. It's not the project that we want to do, but we know that there's kind of a balance of both and like an ebb and flow, that some seasons, just because whatever it may be, the sexy projects are things we have to do over here, and then the cash projects are the things we have to do over here. But knowing the separation of both really helps us, because then we know, because I know for a lot of like artists out there, especially the younger artists, they may be having to take a job waiting tables. And man, that's not very fun, but that's a perfect place to network. That's a perfect
Right.
place. Like you got to find when you can bring in the sexy project into your cash project, but knowing that the cash projects aren't forever. And the sexy
Right.
projects that you're wanting, that really is going to be your future if you know the difference of the two. But yeah, and I love that. And then gigging, like if you're not making music in front of an audience, again, that goes back to what we said earlier about practicing in public, is that you've got to get out there. And the more that you get out there and feel the reality, feel the room, it's like you said, there's nothing that brings me more joy than when I'm sitting there. And back when I was rapping, the same thing. When you're like moving a crowd with the music that you're leading them in, whether it's something you wrote personally or something that you're covering, there's nothing like it. But man, that's so good. So we're going through, it's still going through our life. So we've got legacy, impact, freedom, and then the E in life is energy. So what energizes, fascinates, and motivates you, David?
Oh man. I hate to repeat what I just said, but that energy from the gig, man, that to me was the single biggest turning point in my life as an artist and in where I'm going with my music. Um, I said that night to my friends afterwards. I said, if if I only scrape by and pay the bills, but I get to do this the rest of my life, man, I'll be the richest person on earth. Um, to me, the energy comes from being in front of others, moving them with your music, and then also being able to stay true to you and the message that you want to bring. Whether that's through the songs that you cover that night, whether it's through the songs that you write, whether it's through um, your interactions with the crowd. There may be some times where you're in the middle of playing and a song just out of the blue moves you and you get choked up. Man, get choked up because the crowd's going to feel that. And whenever the crowd's feeling something, there's going to be energy. And that energy is going to just be palpable. Um, and also, just on a day-to-day basis, pick up your instrument, pick up your pen, pick up or start singing, whatever it is that you do as an artist, do it daily. Keep that energy going because if you put it down for a week and you pick up the guitar after a week, the same energy is not there. Whenever I get busy and I put the guitar down for too long of a period of time, whenever I pick it back up again, it's like I gotta spend a day just getting back into the rhythm of it before I can really start feeling it. So we're artists, we're creatives, we're people who this is a part of who we are. So it's got to be a part of who you are, and it's got to be a part of who you are, you know, on ideally a daily basis, but as often as possible, we've got to be letting this part of ourselves breathe and live to keep that energy going, to keep us propelling towards where we want to be, and just having the life that we want to be as creatives.
Listen to you, giving them all the knowledge. I love it. But to turn it back to focus on you, because I definitely want to do what I can to provide not only value for those listening, but value for you. Is I really like to ask this question because I feel like it really puts us in a unique space of thinking.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you. Normally, people are like, "So, what do you want us to know about you?" I like to flip it. What do you want us to not know about you?
Oh man. Oh man. That's a good question, man. I don't want people to know that um, There are days whenever I struggle with my identity as an artist. There are days whenever I've got a gig scheduled that I don't have the energy to do it until a couple of songs into the gig. There are days that I continue to question whether or not my music's even good, even though I've got all these people who are constantly showing up, constantly supporting. Those doubts are normal. I think every creative has those doubts. But I don't like for people to know that. I want people to see me as confident, as somebody who goes out there and gets it, who doesn't get phased by all of this. I like to feel like I'm in control, and if I don't have control, I don't like for people to know that I don't have control over where I'm at in that moment. And I don't want to be known as somebody who had talent and had an opportunity but didn't use it, didn't do something with it.
Man, I appreciate you for sharing that and being vulnerable, because it's so. I feel like our vulnerability is really a gift that when we give people the chance to see what we're going through, it only brings us closer as human beings. And
Right.
I love asking that question because again, it can man, it takes us to a deeper place. And that's what I love about doing the coaching that I do is I want to do that deeper inner work. And that question is a great place to get there. And in that stream of thought, I want to encourage you to create a what scares you list, because when you make a list of all the things that scare you, and then at one at a time you can find ways to handle each one of those, because I believe that sometimes fear is a mask for desire, and what scares you list will draw out your deepest desires. So make a list of everything that scares you and the things that you were scared of. Write them down, and then you can begin to look at them and see what is the desire behind here. You have a place to play from when you want to create from that place. So what scares you?
Oh man, there's a lot that scares me. Um, Not being able to connect with an audience whenever I'm gigging scares me. Um, Showing up to a venue, not knowing if people are going to show up to hear me that night scares me. Um, Whenever I get done with a song, wondering if I'm going to have ideas to write the next song. And the longer it takes to get those ideas, that fear starts to grow bigger. Um, those scare me as an artist, you know?
Okay, let's look at them. Let's look at them individually then. So your first one, you said you're scared of not connecting with the crowd, right? When you're
Right.
performing. So what's the desire behind that?
Oh man, my desire is to give them an experience that they enjoy, that they have fun with, that they feel something with. I want whenever people leave my gigs, I want them to have said that they got more than their money's worth for being there that night. I want them to have a memory that they'll take with them, even if it's just a moment in a song that connected with them. I want them to feel like they're part of the show.
Mm, that's good. That's good. And then another one you mentioned was you were afraid that you're gonna write a song and then that's gonna be it. You're gonna have nothing left, right? So
Right.
what's the desire behind that fear?
Man, the desire is that I want to be a storyteller. That's what I want my music to be. I want my music to, at its core, be telling stories of people, whether they're real, whether they're fictional, who are going through the challenges of life that we all face. And they're experiencing the emotions that we experience. And some of them are probably handling it better than we are, and some of them are handling it worse than we are. But um, to let us know that we're kind of all in this together. And if I ever lose my voice and my ability to tell those stories and connect to people like that, I'll feel like I lost myself as an artist. So um, if I'm not able to write one day, like literally can't ever write another song, I'm gonna feel like that creative part of me is dead. And that's the big fear behind, or the desire behind that is to be a creative my whole life and to write things that people connect with, that move them, that um, isn't just a song that's fun to sing for 3 weeks and then the next song that's fun to sing comes along. I want to really impact people's lives and help them for the better.
Let's play into this space
Okay.
of not not being able to write again, because
Yeah.
I want us to feel what that would feel like. Because me, so like a little backstory of me that I might have not even told you before is I was a rapper from 2008 to 2018. So like that was it. That was my career. I'm going after it full on. I did gigs. I did the pay to plays. I opened up for a few people. Colton Dixon that was on American Idol. I opened up for him. So I had I had a decent little career. And the last song I made was probably my most successful streaming wise and just overall wise. That one of the last songs I made. So like it was really crazy for me to like be in a space where for me in my faith, like I really felt like God was leading me into something new. And thankfully now I'm helping other creative people live their creative potential. But it was through all that that I had a full on identity crisis. Like I was like, if I'm not redone the rapper, then who am I? And I had to lose the things that I was doing to find who I really was. And now I write songs for my church. I write my own personal songs now, not necessarily rap, but I write from a place of who I am, not to become who I am out of what I do. And I always go back to the saying that we're human beings, not human doings. And it's so easy as artists because we're performers, we're high achievers, that we attach our identity to what we do. And the reason I like to explore that idea, and especially when you say something like that, if I was to lose writing, then who would I be? I want to ask you that question. Who would you be if tomorrow you couldn't create like the way that you think you create now?
Man, I'd still be a singer. I wouldn't be a songwriter, but I'd still get out there and I'd gig. Um, but I feel like writing is just kind of my gift to the world. And if I lost that, I don't know who I would be. I really don't. That's a tough question. I'd be a law school success coach. I'd be a small town artist that gigs and does covers and the few songs that I've wrote. Um, but who I would be as an artist, I don't know. I don't know.
It's crazy to think, right?
It is. It is. I mean, I haven't wrote a new song in so long that I'm starting to feel that way now. But um, it's yeah, I don't know, man. Because I tell people I'm a singer songwriter. That's who I am. That's what I do. Um, if I never write again, I would feel like a part of me's gone. I'd have to really dig in that moment and do some soul searching.
And what I think the beauty of that is when it forces us to lose the title. Because
Yeah.
again, it's like so you're in a space where you're like, I haven't wrote something new in a while. What's gonna happen? I am a songwriter. I'm not it we put ourselves in this pressure that almost stifles our creativity. And
I feel
it's
like that's
and when we're able to like step outside of it, because I mean let's think about it, you're a storyteller with your music, so what stories have you experienced that you can tell through song? And a lot of times we get into a space of when we're sitting in front of like our pen and pad or however we process. So we get into that space and that's the only bubble we're living in. And then like that's where our brain is. But I like to challenge it to like go into the imagination of like get out in the world. And because when we get out in the world and we take those experiences, then we're able to say, okay, now this is David McGee and I'm writing as David McGee the experiences that I've been through, that I'm going through. And it's when we get into that space, then we have a fresh perspective of our songwriting instead of we're sitting down and we're like, I write songs, so let's write a song. So,
Yeah,
so I hope that maybe been an insight for you and a light bulb moment. But what do
absolutely.
you think about that?
Yeah, no, no, I think that's great. I think taking the pressure off of it and just kind of seeing it as an opportunity to tell those stories that either I've been through or I've seen other people go through, takes the pressure off of having to write it as a song. Um, if it turns into a song, great. If it doesn't, and it's just a poem or something, I've still got that story, and it still is getting those creative writing juices flowing again. Um, because I do think that ultimately, probably storyteller is more of what I really truly consider myself at my core. Even whenever I was a lawyer, I was telling my client
Yeah.
stories, and I was doing it in the most interesting way for the jury, the most impactful way for the jury to try to do best for my clients. So it's always been telling stories, whether it's mine or someone else's. So if one day I'm never able to write a song, I'd probably try to write a book.
There
But I'd probably keep letting that storytelling side of myself breathe and have life.
Man, I love that. And that's definitely that's another portion reason why I asked that and wanted to go to that space because I think it's great for us to see who we are at our core. And
Yeah,
because our creativity can evolve and it can change and my son's turning my light on and off. It can evolve and change, but at the core of who we are, we're still the person God created us to be and we're
right.
still got that purpose to leave an impact and leave a legacy and do the things that bring us freedom and to do the things that energize us. And that's what's so cool about thinking it in the aspect going back to exponential life is legacy, impact, freedom, energy. And when you get into that space, it's like, okay, that's a place to live from, not a place to get to. And I love that one of my own personal coaches has been saying it that way is that impossible goals we have is not a place to get to, it's a place to come from. And when we view it in that way, it's so beautiful. But one practical thing, and even for the people at home listening, there's a book called The Artist Way. I forgot I can look up the author real quick so I get it right. But it's such a great book for anyone that's creative. The Artist Way by Julia Cameron. And one of the things that she mentions in there is what she calls the morning pages. And it's basically one of the first things you do in the morning is you sit down and you write 3 pages of nonsense. Like whatever comes to mind, you write it and you get it out. Good, bad, ugly. 3 pages. And when you get done with it, you rip it up. You throw it away. You don't even read it. I mean, over time, you can go back to reading it, but it's this idea of that if we get up and train our bodies to get out everything that we've been holding on to over the night and over the thing, then we're able to come from a new place. And it's just that idea of that, and that's one thing that I would encourage you, maybe challenge you to do, if you're getting into that place of being stuck, especially any of those writing, because it gets us writing and it gets us thinking outside of what we are. Because a lot of times when we sit down to write, we can bring in the day. And we've mentioned that before in previous lessons that we can bring in when we're doing other things in our life, circumstances, and we almost bring that into those creative moments. But what if something else is supposed to happen in those creative moments, and we almost have to. It's a form of meditation in a way, because it releases all of the things in the present and gets us really present into the moment and getting ready to create.
And I like that. I'm gonna start doing that because I feel like that's necessary.
Oh,
I'd never
so
thought of that
necessary.
before, but like, man, there are days whenever it's like my mind is just weighed down with so much that I can't pick the pen up and write creatively, because I just feel weighed down, and then I don't. I'm not good at giving myself the space to get all of that off of my shoulders that needs to get
Yeah.
off so that um, I can tell these other stories. So yeah, man, man. I'm glad you brought that up. That's great. I wrote that down. I'm going to implement that. Um, Starting tomorrow. I'm going to do it whenever I wake up. Today, I'm going to do it when we get off this call.
On. I want to encourage you to slow down.
All right.
It seems counterintuitive, especially in the world that we live in of the fast pace, everything microwave generation, like we need it yesterday kind of thing. But I want to really encourage you to slow down. And even especially, it's like you mentioned just now, like you're giving that space to write out those pages. But even when you get into your time to write, go into your writing in a very present state.
Mhm.
Like I know you've probably heard about breath work and like really focusing in on your breathing. And when you choose to take those few moments to be present in the now, you begin to notice the few things that do come up. And I think that's when we tap into that subconscious creativity.
Yeah, that's good, man. That's good.
Man,
I uh, I need to slow down more. I'm glad you said that. Um, that's where I struggle. My mind's going 100 miles per hour all day, every day. And so whenever I do sit down and try to write, it's like I've got a million ideas coming, and so I've got no ideas coming.
yeah, exactly. Yep, I wanna encourage you to do those two things. That's it.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
That's the two things, and that's me as your coach,
Yeah,
giving you the homework. That's the two homework pieces that I have for you, man. Because I think that's it. And the big thing, and what I've learned the more that I've been coaching people, is you really get in tune with the intuition of things, and
right.
you know you've reached a point. Sometimes it's good to dig deeper, but it's also really good to pause and breathe. So, with that, I'd like to pause and ask you, what was the biggest insight you got from today's conversation?
Oh man, definitely the biggest insight was whenever you asked me what I don't want people to know about me, and I went through that exercise, and um, at my core, I realized it's not the singer songwriter label that I feel connected with. It's the storyteller label, and I got to get back to those roots and let that part of who I am breathe and have life again, and really start to take back some time in my days and get back there. And the tips that you gave me to let me start doing that, slow down, man. That's the biggest thing you could have said to me. I am 99 to 100 miles per hour all day, every day. And I feel like that's how I'm supposed to live my life. If I'm slowing down, I feel like I'm doing something wrong. So knowing that I need to do that and having to be conscious about doing that is going to really help me, not just on my creative side of life, but all sides of life, I believe.
Yeah, that's good. I felt that too.
Yeah,
Man, I've loved catching up with you, David,
you too,
and
go.
it's been so cool. I love that we got to do this live, and I appreciate your honesty and your vulnerability. And I feel like so many people are gonna get so much from this, including yourself. You're gonna, you can always watch back and listen. And I feel like, Man, you've definitely been one of my favorite clients. I'll say that much.
And I appreciate it, man.
It's been great to be able to be your coach, and I don't say that lightly. I coach kings, and
Yeah,
you're definitely one of those kings. But with that said, I want to also give you the chance to let people know where to find you and your music.
absolutely, man. I appreciate that. So I am on YouTube, David McGee Music, and TikTok, David McGee Music. Those are where you can find me right now.
Okay, awesome. And I'll link them in the description for everyone watching and listening. You'll see the links in the description. So you'll be able to go check out his music, show him some love, support him. And if you're in the area of where
Yeah.
he's at, go see him. Or if he goes and plays in your area, go see him. Cause man, I remember one of our first calls when I challenged you to write a song and bring it, and you brought it, and you crushed it. It was solid.
What What's crazy is whenever my producer and I were going over the songs that I'd wrote for the upcoming EP, that was the song that he said he liked the best, especially the chorus. He was like, "That's your best chorus that you wrote." So,
Come on.
and I appreciate you pushing me to get that one done because that one was my producer's favorite. So,
I love
um,
it.
kudos to you for helping me get that one out.
Man, I appreciate that so much. Well, David, as we wrap up today's podcast episode and coaching call, what questions did I miss out on? Is there anything I missed?
Man, I don't think so. I think you were able to kind of feel kind of where I was at and help me get an action plan to get back to where I want to be with writing. Man, I feel speaking of energy, I feel energized after this call. I think today's just going to be a work day on music. I kind of feel it flowing right now.
Man, I love it. Well, we'll wrap up the podcast. I'll stop the recording and we can chat for a little bit. But for those listening at home, if you want to experience this one-on-one for yourself, you'll see in the description ways to connect because I mean, I'm here to serve people. Ultimately, at the end of the day, I'm here to help people have that impact, have that insight like David has experienced. So definitely reach out to me if that's something that piqued your interest, if you're wanting to really get to that level that you're wanting to get to, so much more so than your creativity, but all areas of your life. And with that said, as always, I love you, friend. I'm praying for you. Now let's go live better than best as we conquer this week.